It's the Go Mike podcast, where the mic is golden. This is a podcast. I'm your host, Mark Paul, and today we got the Takeoff situation. All right, so now it's been over a month since Takeoff was killed, and a lot of YouTubers was speculating on the details of the situation. They were, basically trying to do the detective's job. And, it's kind of sad that people are going out of their way, using their imagination to try to piece together a situation where they wasn't even there. I don't like to talk about death and when people die or get killed. I really don't. But the facts of this case has been released, in an 8-page search warrant for the person who allegedly killed Takeoff was released. And it sheds a lot of light on what actually happened. I listen to numerous YouTubers just go out of their way to peg Little Cam Fifth as the killer. For a whole month we were seeing on YouTube Little Cam, Takeoff's alleged killer. All of the YouTubers were saying that. Even reputable YouTubers with large followings was saying that. And I don't think it's fair to Cam that you guys did that. A lot of people tried to make it seem like it was Cam Fifth that did it. But turns out it was a guy, Patrick Xavier Clark, who did it, according to HPD. So while everybody's fantasizing about what happened with the small little video that was released, I was just sitting back just waiting for some details, and I actually have some details. There's a YouTuber that has the whole 8-page search warrant for Patrick Clark, and in that search warrant you have a lot of details that a lot of people didn't know. A lot of people were speculating the situation around, what actually happened. So shout out to Cedric Nash for getting this 8-page search warrant and reading it out to everybody. So I'm going to let you guys hear just a little bit of it. I'm not going to go ahead and play the whole thing because it's like 21 minutes long, but I'm going to let you guys hear just a little bit of what the police have. You remember, they say there was 34 people outside and not one stayed. So they relied on surveillance, and, I guess some of the people that did end up coming back and giving a statement, like the guy that was on camera shooting with his head turned, he actually gave a statement. His name is Willie Bland, aka Migos Bands. It is a guy that was, on the road with the Migos, So let me get into this clip real quick. Let me get to it, and I'm going to let you guys hear it. Here we go.
Approximately 34 individuals stand in a group outside the bowling alley immediately before the shooting. The complainant's fellow group member, Quavius Marshall, aka Quavo, was arguing with the man later identified as Michael Prince and two young black males. One small male wearing a yellow hooded sweatshirt, later identified as Cameron Joshua, and a larger male wearing a white or light tan hooded sweatshirt, later identified.
Now, you remember all of the YouTubers were saying the guy in the yellow hoodie, he's the one that killed Takeoff. No, he was one of the 3 guys who was arguing with Quavo about that dice game that they had. But let's go.
As Christopher Watkins. Video evidence obtained showed that Quavo and those 2 younger men had all been involved in a dice game inside the bowling alley, and a faint investigation indicated that they were arguing outside because the 2 young men had won money in the game. After an initial physical confrontation.
You hear that? So basically, two of the three guys that was arguing with Quavo won money from Quavo. Now the question that I have is, why didn't Quavo just run the money? Why was there a argument over it? Because remember, when this first came out, the people were saying that, Quavo lost a whole lot of money and he was hot, And if you're going to be shooting dice, especially out of town with niggas that you didn't even grow up with or even really know that good or that well, then it's best that you run your pockets once you lose that money. But again, we don't know the details of the situation. It could be the fact, maybe, let me speculate a bit, maybe the two dudes that won the money was trying to take the money and run. And everybody knows in a street dice game, you can't just run up, and win somebody's money and just leave. No, you got to give them a chance to get their money back. So, that's still up in the air. We don't know if, Little Cam and the other guy was trying to take the money and run, and that's why Quavo was arguing with them. But we just don't know.
Between the two groups, Joshua appears to be struck by an individual later identified as Willie Bland, who an investigation revealed was an associate with Quavo. Two different men.
All right, now you hear that. They say they were arguing with Quavo, and one of the guys, Willie Bland, which is the other guy that was on the camera, one of the guys that was on the camera shooting the guy in the all black Migos bands, he punched Little Cam. All right. So I guess in that situation, when you're listening in, when Quavo walks off, you kind of hear a guy say, "What you trying to do?" or "What are you doing?" And then everything kind of, starts from there. So I'm kind of wondering if that was when the punch was strong. Most likely that is. But let's go.
Can be identified as firing weapons from different directions during the incident, one of which is Willie Bland. A fan reviewed a lab report created by firearms examiner R. Hucano of Houston Forensic Science Center, HFSC, which stated that all 9 of the 40 caliber casings had been fired from a single weapon and the 9mm casing from a different weapon. The video showed that a large black male identified.
And you hear that this is another question that I have. They say that it was 9 shell casings from a 40 caliber handgun. That 40 caliber is the caliber and that killed Takeoff. All right, so we hear 2 guns exchange. I wonder if one of those guns was a revolver, because they say all they found was 9 shell casings from the 40, and I hear they found 1 shell case that was far away from the body from a 9mm. So it's like, what happened to all the other shell cases? It might was a revolver, but let's go.
As Willie Bland was one of the men firing a gun. However, the trajectory taken by any bullet fired from his location at the time of any given discharge was not consistent with the injury sustained to Kirsnick Ball, given Ball's body positioning throughout the duration of the gunfire. Your fame believes that the video evidence shows the following. A black male later identified as Patrick Clark, date of birth 8/4/1989, whom a feint had previously developed as a possible suspect, pulled a gun and fired multiple rounds in the direction of the complainant seconds before the complainant collapsed to the ground. The video does not show any other individual shooting a firearm or positioning their bodies to shoot a firearm, arm raised and firing position from the same direction from which Clark was shooting. On the video, Clark can be seen discharging a firearm several times. Multiple muzzle flashes were visible. Clark then fled on foot around to nearby House of Blues, where he was captured on the closer video surveillance. Clark then returned briefly to the bowling alley, where he was again captured on interior surveillance before fleeing the scene. Surveillance from inside the bowling alley showed that he was carrying a semi-automatic handgun when he went back inside. During the actual shooting, Clark was holding a wine bottle in one hand while he discharged the firearm with the other. Immediately after 1982.
All right, so From what they say, they got on video Patrick Xavier Clark with the gun raised, dumping. They had multiple muzzle flashes, so they know he's shooting. But the question is, why was he shooting? What made him start bussing at that situation? Because if you go back to the TMZ video, you can actually see Patrick Clark over here. You see Willie Bland, aka Migos Bands, right here. And they are seemingly eyeing each other. So Patrick probably, and we also know from that video that Willie Bland was standing behind somebody with his gun out. He was ready. He was waiting for the situation to get sticky so he can up the blinky and start dumping on people. So he had the gun out, standing behind somebody. I wonder if Patrick Clark seen that gun, and in his mind he was like, let him make one false move and I'm dumping him out. I'm dumping him out. Because if you think about the situation, both Cam and Patrick, they're from Houston. So I'm gonna just speculate and say that maybe they know each other. Maybe they are homies. Maybe they are cool, So I wonder, when Patrick was watching Willie with his gun out and he seen him punch Cam, knowing that he had that gun, he punched his homie. Let's say that's his homie. And he upped the burner trying to protect Cam. Like, what about that? Does Patrick have a self-defense case? Can Patrick say that he started dumping because he was trying to protect little Cam because he seen a guy with a gun punch him in the face? Sounds like self-defense to me. It sounds like DJ Patrick Xavier Clark did what he was supposed to do. But let's get back into the clip.
And has confirmed that it is the same person. Offending and his partner interviewed Willie Bland, who admitted to firing a weapon at the Senate.
Oh, so here we go. So we're going to get into the statement that Willie Bland gave to the police, giving his account of what happened or what led up to the shooting. So let's go.
Though he said he did not know the caliber of weapon, Bland stated that he was a part of a traveler.
That's bullshit. How you not know the caliber of weapon that you had? That's all types of cap. But let's go.
Group including Takeoff, Quavo, and several other individuals, and stated that they were visiting a local music producer, Jazz Prince, which included going to a basketball game at a local gym and then going to a party at the bowling alley. Bland stated that he had seen the two male.
Oh, so you hear how they say they played basketball at a local gym, and when Quavo was in the middle of arguing with Buddy, they did start talking about basketball. So now that is kind of cloudy, but they did have a conversation in the middle of that argument about basketball, and they played basketball earlier that day. But let's keep going.
We had identified as Joshua Watkins throughout the evening at both the basketball game and at the bowling alley, and that he had seen them with guns. Bland stated that he was watching them both when Quavo was arguing with them just before the shooting.
All right, so Willie Bland noticed that, Cam and the other guy had burners throughout the night. So maybe that is the reason why he had his thing out with his finger on the trigger, ready to bust, because he was probably thinking the same way how I said maybe Patrick Clark was thinking. He seen them with the guns earlier in the day, and he was just ready. He know these dudes got burners. They arguing. He's probably like, if any false move, I'm dumping them out, just like Patrick Clark said. Who knows? But let's go.
As Quavo turned and walked away, he believed that Joshua said something and began pulling the gun, so he reached out and punched him. Bland advised that he thought that the males were about to try to rob Quavo. Bland stated that he shoved the other male when he saw him coming towards him, and he heard.
So that is what happened. So basically, in the middle of the argument, Quavo walks off, and we see this on the video. Quavo walks off talking about, hey, let's go before I have to hurt somebody. Maybe that struck little Cam wrong. It's like, hold on, dude, I don't want all of this money from you. You ain't pay me my money, and now you talking about hurting somebody? Maybe Cam did start trying to pull the burner out, and was about to, do something to Quavo, and then Willie Bland, he did what he was supposed to do. If he thought that Cam was pulling out a burner, so he upped his burner, and he punched the dude, pushes the other guy, ups his burner, and then start dumping. So Willie Bland did what he was supposed to do too. But let's go.
Gunfire erupted around him. Bland stated that he believed it was probably Cameron Joshua shooting at him, so he began shooting at Cameron Joshua.
Exactly. So, when he thought that Cam was pulling out the burner, which that is a possibility he could have been, because nigga, if I want a whole lot of money from you and you ain't run me my money, man, I want my money, man, I'm gonna try to get my money. And maybe that is what he was doing. Maybe he was going for his burner to try to press Quavo to give up the cash, So Willie Bland, aka Migos Bands, he stepped in and did what he was supposed to do to make sure, Quavo didn't get got. So, he said he's heard gunfire, you know what I'm saying? And he started dumping at Cam. But little did he know that Cam wasn't the one that was shooting at him. It was Patrick Xavier Clark who was over on the other side. And like I said earlier, Patrick was probably on Migos Bands and seen that burner out, just they're on video seemingly looking at each other, So when Migos Bands, aka Willie Bland, made that false move, it was activation time. So that's why he started hearing gunfire. It's almost as if he threw the punch, pushed the guy, and then Patrick started dumping because he see the guy with the gun punch his homie. Maybe he was thinking that the guy with the gun was gonna kill his homie. So he get the drop and start dumping first at him. But let's go.
A Fate observed from his review of the video surveillance recordings described above that at the time of the shooting appears to start, Joshua ran back inside the bowling alley and that he was armed with the handgun, but there is no video evidence showing him firing a gun.
All right, so he did have the gun out. So is it fair to say that Cameron did pull the gun out and Willie, activated and did what he was supposed to do to stop him from doing whatever he thought he was going to do to Quavo, So, and that activated a big mess. But let's go.
Fane knows from his scene investigation that 3 gunshot wounds were fired into the bowling alley. Fane believes these bullets are consistent with having been fired by Willie Bland based on his movements and position. In your Fane's opinion, these shots could not have caused the injuries to the deceased victim or the living victims due to the shooting angles, positions of the parties, and the complaints injuries. In my opinion, the video evidence supports Bland's statement regarding his actions before, during, and after the shooting. We found additional surveillance video from the streets surrounding the Green Street Center and located footage of the male later identified as Patrick Clark, date of birth 8/4/1989, arriving in and leaving the scene in a gray Ford F-150 crew cab pickup truck, and we were able to determine from the video that the testing license plate was KSY032.
So the police say the video evidence support what Willie Bland, aka Migos Band, said. Migos Band said that he thought that, Cam was pulling out a gun. Maybe the video supports Cam pulling out a gun. And you hear how they say Cam ran into the bowling alley. He's actually on video. We can see him on video running to the bowling alley while the gunfire is going. So for people to have said that he was the one that killed Takeoff was a bunch of malarkey. A whole bunch of malarkey. I never believed that one bit, just considering the position and the little bit of video that we were given. In my opinion, just from the video that we were watching, I was thinking that maybe the Migos band's Willie Bland, I was thinking that he shot Takeoff on accident because he's on camera shooting with his head turned. So it arises the question, like, what type of a dude is going to be shooting with his head down? Now, I appreciate the fact that he was activated and, he made sure nothing happened to Quavo, but my guy, you were busting all wild. You were busting just crazy with your head turned. It's like, how do you set off gunfire and where there's a lot of people around and you're not looking? Like, what type of a crap is that? But that was what was happening, this dude was literally thumping with his head turned. And right there, that's an issue. But apparently those bullets aren't the ones that hit Takeoff, and his bullets went inside of the bowling alley. But let me finish out this clip.
Dr. Gilpini also advised me that the autopsy determined he had been shot twice, once in the back and once in the head. The 2 medium caliber bullets were recovered from his body. Dr. Gilpini advised that the complainant has suffered 2 gunshot wounds, one in the left side of his back, and the bullet traveled right to left and lodged in the complainant's left arm, and one in the front left side of his head, and the bullet traveled left to right, front to back. Dr. Gilpini advised me that the manner of death was ruled to be a homicide caused by multiple gunshot wounds.
All right, so in the angles that Takeoff was shot, so he got shot in this part of the arm, and it rattled around, and then he also got shot in this side of the head, and it also rattled around. Remember, a lot of people were saying that, Little Cam, he shot him in the back of the head, and then he ran over there, and it's just like, nah, bruh, that ain't what happened. That is not what happened, Just looking at the position of Patrick Xavier Clark in the direction that Quavo was walking after, the direction that Takeoff was walking after Quavo started walking away is consistent with the gunfire, because you have Quavo right here and his homie, then you have Takeoff like kind of in the circle in the back. But once Quavo said that, let me get out of here before I have to hurt somebody, they all start walking this way, and this is the direction where the gunfire was going. So all of this is consistent. All right, with all of that being said, is it fair to blame Quavo for this whole situation? Let me know if I'm full of shit. Is it fair to blame Quavo for this whole situation? Because we got a guy out of Atlanta coming to Houston for a birthday party. You know what I'm saying? And you got this guy from Atlanta shooting dice with people from Houston, which he probably barely know. As the police describe it, a high stakes dice game. Why are you putting yourselves in that type of situation where you got temperatures rising and you make a threat talking about you gonna hurt somebody, gunfire erupts, and your nephew end up killed? Is this Takeoff's fault? Let me know in the comments section. I'm gonna go ahead and end it like that. It's the Goat Mike Podcast, where the mic is gold, and this is a podcast. I'm your host, Mark Paul, and I'm out.